Tonight on Missing Persons Unit,
We're not here to arrest you, sweetie.
Detective Cosgrove finally catches up with 14-year-old runaway Jaydee.
I told my mum I'm going out, so she invites a bunch of coppers over.
Jaydee's back, but she's not happy.
No, I want to go out now. I told you yesterday I'm going out.
And the mystery of missing bushie Paul Laba.
He was known to walk great distances. He'd walk from his camp to the hotel, 60 kilometres, and have a few drinks and then walk back the next day.
But he hasn't been seen in a year. So what happened?
I didn't see her for a very long time.
And the high-rise search for dementia sufferer Khana Guitman.
You know her? Yeah.
Hello?
Lost for 24 hours, and this grandmother can't even speak English.
Starting to get really worried now because it's been a day and a half, so yeah, we're worried.
It's the start of another long week at the Missing Persons Unit.
There's quite a bit on today, including a few high-risk cases.
And missing people with dementia are a high priority again.
Mandy, there's a 79-year-old grandmother missing from Waterloo and her family's really concerned.
Mandy's taking the case of Russian immigrant Khana Guitman. Karna failed to turn up at her daughter's place at lunchtime yesterday and hasn't been seen since.
It says here she's got dementia. Poor old thing. It's really sad, we've had a lot of them lately, so she could be anywhere. I feel sorry for the family, because where do you start?
Andy, Jaydee's finally turned up at home. How's that going?
Oh, she's returned after 4 weeks and the Harbourside detectives are over there now making sure she's okay.
14-year-old serial runaway Jaydee heard a police task force was searching for her, and after avoiding them for a month, she finally returned home.
Now, let's hope Jaydee stays put for a while.
That's it for this morning. Have a great day.
Also at the Queensland Missing Persons Unit,
Can I speak to Sergeant Tony McDowell, please?
Senior Sergeant Jim Ryan is investigating the mysterious case of an opal miner missing for over a year.
What time does the search start on Sunday?
Paul Laba vanished in the desert near Winton, 1,500 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, and fresh evidence has led to a new search planned to start shortly.
It's pretty rugged and pretty inhospitable terrain, so we're going to try again and see if we can turn anything up.
Meanwhile, back in Sydney, in the case of missing 79-year-old Khana Guitman,
Irina, it's Senior Constable Gar from the Police Missing Persons Unit. How are you?
Mandy's calling her daughter, Irina, to find out more about her mum's habits.
And what can you tell me about Karna? Like, she obviously hasn't done this before.
No, it's never happened with her before.
Okay.
She always find way to home.
Yeah. What about the neighbours?
One gentleman, maybe he said he saw her in the lift around 12 o'clock, like he has to leave.
Yeah.
In the lift, and that's it.
Where did she live before Waterloo?
Before Waterloo, she lived here on the Pitt Street.
I'm just saying, because a lot of dementia, people that suffer dementia or Alzheimer's and things like that, may tend to go back to where they lived beforehand, depending where their state of mind is at the time. We've had a few people make their way back to where they used to live, either, growing up or the previous address. Bye. Poor thing. You feel so helpless, sitting at home, like, waiting for the phone to ring. Yesterday, she walked around and spoke to the neighbours. No one has seen her. People that knew her, no one's seen her anyway. So I'll ring Redfern and just sort of see where they're up to, if they need some help, and hopefully she'll turn up somewhere.
At Brisbane's Missing Persons Unit, Detective Senior Sergeant Jim Ryan is working on the puzzling case of missing opal miner Paul Laba. Paul worked his mine near Winton, 1,500 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, an area so remote that only a skilled bushman like him could survive.
It wasn't uncommon for him to walk into town, the 60 kilometres, have a few drinks and walk back the next day. So he'd do a 120 kilometre round trip walk to the hotel.
But one day, a year ago, Paul walked off into the desert and never came back.
There's a little bit of fresh information that would indicate that he did make it back to his camp. However, that hasn't been verified. But there's sufficient there to warrant a further search.
Armed with this new information, in 24 hours, Jim and a team of volunteers will make one final search in the desert surrounding Paul's camp.
It's pretty rugged and pretty inhospitable terrain, so we're going to try again and see if we can turn anything up.
See you on Monday.
Okay, I'll give you a call and let you know.
And to
how
get
we're going
there,
anyway.
Jim will fly and drive for 8 hours into the scorching heart of Outback, Australia. In the case of missing grandmother, Khana Guitman, Mandy's heading to Karna's flat in inner Sydney, the last place she was seen alive.
She walks from her home to her daughter's house, which is a 2 to 3 minute walk. She was on the phone to her daughter yesterday, stated she was leaving straight away, and she hasn't turned up basically, and she's not in any of the hospitals. The ambulance service haven't picked anyone up similar to her description in the last 24 hours. So yeah, it's a real puzzle where she is at the moment.
When they arrive at the public housing complex, she's joined by police from Redfern. Senior Constable Sandy Gibson
Redfern Police.
and Constable Jason Check have been given a spare key to Karna's flat.
Karna.
Hello?
Hello.
Redfern Police?
And sadly, when police enter the homes of elderly people who live alone, they never know what they might find. But 79-year-old Karna isn't here.
We might ring the mobile number.
Yeah, do you want to give that a ring?
Just ringing the missing person now. Okay, it's gone to message bank, so there's nothing inside. She must have the phone with her.
Looks like she's got her wallet here.
And without her wallet, Karna couldn't have been planning to go far. So Mandy now has to rule out two possibilities: that Karna has met with foul play, or that she's had an accident somewhere in the area.
Gary, I'm going to go down the stairs instead of down the lift, just in case she's had a fall on the way down.
Back in inner Sydney, Mandy's still searching the housing complex where Karna lives and asking neighbours if they've seen her.
Don't speak much English.
Not much English?
No, not at all.
They're not seen her?
Yeah, you talk to her.
Okay.
You know them.
Karna's friends are mostly Russian.
My name is Mandy. Oops. We're looking... Sit next to you? I can sit next to you. Karna.
Anya. Yeah.
You know her?
Anya.
You Russian?
Yes. Russian, Moscow, Moskva. Russian. А что она?
Yeah. Not well.
But obvious language difficulties make progress slow.
Thank you anyway. Thank you. It's nice to meet you. It's nice and cool out here for you. It's nice and cool under the trees. Hot. Okay. Thank you.
But just as it all looks hopeless, Mandy gets encouraging news.
I was just over in 180 Pitt Street for another job, and I spoke to one of the residents there.
Yep.
He said a lady who he thinks was this lady here had fallen in the foyer yesterday at Pitt Street.
Yep.
She was disorientated, didn't know where she was, and the ambulance took her about 1 p.m. yesterday.
Yeah.
That's right. Did anybody reckon looked similar to her? Yeah, like he was pretty sure it was her.
After no word for 23 hours, this is their best lead yet. In the case of missing bushy Paul Laba, Detective Jim Ryan is on his way into northwest Queensland to make one last search for this tough opal miner.
Searches were conducted. They were conducted on trail bike, horseback and on foot, but nothing was located.
As Jim drives through one of the largest and most unforgiving police jurisdictions in the world, he still hopes to find the bushman alive out here.
He shot game, kangaroo and wild pig, and lived on that a fair bit. He just used to salt it and occasionally go into town for supplies.
Town for Paul Laba is here in Winton, in Queensland's searing outback. The population is tiny, just over 1,000 people, most of them indoors to escape today's 46-degree heat. This is the last place the bushy was seen alive. Back in Sydney, Mandy's still trying to confirm the identity of a woman picked up by ambulance officers about the same time Karna disappeared.
Was very disorientated, and the ambulance came and took her to a hospital.
But unfortunately, it's not good news.
We've spoken to the duty officer at Redfern, and he's basically confirmed that the lady that was picked up from Waterloo yesterday was of Greek descent, same age, so unfortunately it's not our missing person. So we've got nothing to go on to say she's specifically in Redfern, so that makes it a little bit difficult as well. But Pat back at work is making some inquiries with the bank, so we've got a few things happening at the same time, so we just wait and see.
In Outback, Queensland, Jim Ryan's first port of call in Winton is local policeman Tony McDowell, who's been looking for Paul Laba for over a year.
Yeah. Jim Ryan from Missing Persons. How are you?
Good, thanks, Jim. Good.
Good to meet you. How are you?
No worries. Have a seat.
Paul vanished on a remote cattle property 120 kilometres north of Winton. Police found his abandoned car on a bush track. 14 kilometres away, they found the car's broken radiator.
We think he might have been carrying it out and it's just got too much for him and he's left it hanging in a tree on the road.
And whatever happened to his car?
His car's still there. It hasn't been moved off the property and there's nothing else there at the car except for the fact that the radiator's missing. That's the only problem with it.
Police have now received information that on the morning before he disappeared, Paul talked to a farmer who noticed something unusual. The 76-year-old was wearing boots.
The property owner that spoke to him on the morning that his car broke down remembers him wearing the boots and was quite specific about it because normally he's barefoot. And he saw him wearing these fairly brand new boots and that's the tread pattern that we found in the bush, and they found him back at his campsite.
So Tony thinks Paul made it from his abandoned car back to his camp and opal mine before he disappeared.
The little red dots you see beside here are his opal mine sites. We've gone over them using cadaver dogs from Brisbane.
No, we can just you're on the way.
Before tomorrow's search, Tony's taking Jim to meet Paul's best mate, Butch, maybe the last man in Winton to see him alive. It's now 28 hours since Khana Guitman went missing. Redfern's inspector, David Watson, is taking no chances.
What we're going to do this afternoon, we'll have to return back to the missing person's address, and we need to conduct a search for all the stairwells from the top to the bottom, just in case she may have had a fall going up the steps above her unit complex.
They've already searched there once, but on Watson's orders, they're doing it again.
We're heading back to the block of units this afternoon. Our lady's still missing. She hasn't accessed any bank accounts, and we've discussed it with the crime manager inside. And yeah, we think there's a need to increase our inquiries, and we're going to do a canvass of the units where she was last seen, and hopefully come up with some information. If not, well, yeah, starting to get really worried now because it's been a day and a half. So yeah, we're worried.
In Outback, Queensland, as the search for opal miner Paul Laba hots up, Sergeant Jim Ryan is in Winton hoping for a fresh lead from Paul's best mate, Butch.
Butch, Jim Ryan from the Missing Persons Homicide Squad in Brisbane.
It was Deputy Mayor and Town Mechanic, Butch Lenton, who reported Paul missing a year ago.
Do you know when you last saw Paul?
Would have been in September somewhere, you know, and you see him sort of monthly or every couple of months, and just when Christmas was getting close, we were just getting a bit concerned about he hadn't been around, that's all.
The vehicle, his car, it was in pretty good condition as far as mechanically, or?
Yeah, no, not all the time with Paul's cars, you know, real bush beat car, you know, sort of thing, and it had let him down before, you know, there's no two ways about that, you know, it wasn't the most reliable car in the world.
But Paul's old car let him down one time too many. This time, in the middle of nowhere.
If he's out there somewhere, it'd be great just to find him. If he's gone away somewhere, it'd be great to know where he is.
And that's still Jim's best bet. But Paul is out here in the desert and will turn up one day. Back at the housing estate in Sydney, Mandy and local police are now so desperate to find Khana Guitman before dark that they're talking to everyone who's home. And that means more than 200 apartments.
She resides downstairs. Have you seen her at all today? Or yesterday afternoon, maybe?
No.
Do you think you might have a look and see if you know her?
I'm often with her in the lift, and particularly when it is cold, you know. She says, "Oh, you have no stockings on." And she always had nice shoes on. So,
She looks like a real lady, the photograph.
lovely woman.
The police asked you upstairs about Karna. You hadn't seen her?
I didn't see her for a very long time.
A long time?
Long time, yes. I think she was going a little bit.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Hello?
Worried that her 79-year-old neighbour is in trouble,
It's the police. Can you open the door, please?
her friend Barbara asks if she can make a plea for Karna's safe
It's the
return.
police. Can you open the door, please?
Please, if you've seen her, she's been missing since yesterday afternoon. And she was going to go to her daughter's place, not far from Tauranga, only 2 minutes walk. Disappeared. Please, if you find anybody, please could contact the police.
In Outback, Queensland, Tony and Jim checked Paul Laba's camp to see if he's been back since the last police visit a few months ago.
Start off, this is his sort of kitchen area. She had plenty of food area there, dry food. The black box up at the top here, that's his meat safe. There is salted meat up there. And he had other dry veggies and that, so he had plenty of food here.
Nothing's been touched since Tony's last visit and since Paul went missing over a year ago.
This area here was like a workshop and tools. If he'd gone away, he would have dropped that door down, at least to protect his tools.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the weather exposing his tools.
All through here is mainly all his clothing is here.
With plenty of food and all his personal belongings still here, Paul's disappearance just doesn't add up.
Over here is where I found his bank book and some medication and that. His bank book was in here.
The bank book is a major find. Without access to his money, Paul can't have been planning to leave his camp for long. So tomorrow's search in a new area where Paul's radiator was found could be Jim's best chance of solving the case. At the Sydney Missing Persons Unit, Senior Constable Andy Drummond has had a great result in his long search for 14-year-old runaway Jaydee.
4 weeks after she went missing, she found out the police were looking for her. We located her and took her home, and now I've just got to make sure she stays home.
You know, if only I knew what she was wearing, you know.
Last week's program, Jaydee's mother, who reported her missing, was sick with worry.
I'm very scared that she might put herself in danger.
After an intensive search failed to find any sign of Jaydee.
We look at it from a worst-case point of view.
Then her best friend took police on a goose chase before realising how serious it was.
Last Thursday, she was just walking past.
The police search was then ramped up.
We're just trying to find a young boy, this boy.
But then, out of the blue, a sighting.
One of the tables outside just having lunch.
So there's two girls there? She's one on the right.
Then, 4 weeks after she ran away, Jaydee came home and police were waiting.
Listen, I understand you're having a few words with Mum. We're not here to arrest you, sweetie, OK?
I'm saying if you wanted to do it.
No, listen, I've got nothing to arrest you for.
And I told my mum I'm going out, so she invites a bunch of coppers over.
Listen, can we just have a quick chat to you for a couple of minutes? You know I've been trying to find you for a little while.
All right.
And we had some real concerns about you, Jaydee.
And I heard I was dead.
We had to just make sure you were all right. How's things?
It's good. I came home because someone I love told me to, not for the sake of coming home.
OK, all right. So what are your plans today?
I want to go out,
Yeah, OK.
but someone's stuffing it up for me.
Yeah.
You.
Jaydee's home, but for how long?
And you've hit it, whether you've been dead in the gutter somewhere, whether someone's abducted you.
Back at Jaydee's house, Detectives Cosgrove and Flaherty make careful progress with a very angry young girl.
I'll tell you the stark realities of life, and you might think you're a pretty tough girl at 14, you've been knocking around doing all these things, OK? A lot of 14-year-old girls go missing and they never, ever get found. People abduct young girls, keep them in dungeons, prisons. Look, you mightn't think that happens. It does. What do you want to do with your life?
I want to live.
Of course you do.
I want to work and go to school and that crap. I'm not interested in it.
OK.
I'm not good at it. I don't want to do it. That's it.
All right, but you want to travel, you want to do whatever. You know, if you're found dead, you're not doing any of that, sweetie, OK? No parent ever wants to bury their daughter saying she got stabbed in the city at 14, you know? That's the stark realities of what happens in this city, OK? It mightn't happen to you and it might never happen to you, and I hope it never happens to you.
30 hours after Russian immigrant Khana Guitman went missing, Senior Constable Sandy Gibson's just received some heartening news.
We've had a broadcast over our police radio to let us know that the car crew of Camp C36 have located a missing female. They've taken her to Canterbury Hospital and she's presented with the name Khana Guitman, which is very similar to the name that she's given.
So excited.
Great.
Thank you for your
No
help
worries.
today.
Well done. Thanks for that.
Gosh, we missed out on doing 14 floors. So now I just want to get there and make sure that it's her, and I won't advise the family at this stage because I don't want to do the yes, we found a no, we haven't thing. So the sooner we get there, the sooner we can ring the family. So it's all good, she's not injured, so exciting.
It's not going too well at Jaydee's house.
Listen, you're home now. What are your plans? What are you going to do?
I want to go out.
OK, that's all right.
While
Not
Detective
right this
John
second. You're gonna stay
Cosgrove
here
tries
for
to
a while.
talk some sense into Jaydee, her mum Retha waits outside reeling from her daughter's
It's a
attitude.
case of you were so worried while she was away, but now the work starts again.
No, I want to go out now. I told you yesterday I'm going out.
Just the way she talks to me and stuff like that, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry.
It's funny. It's funny for me to watch them cry because they've made me cry before, so it's payback time.
Well, hopefully we reaffirm the fact that, you know, she just needs to contact the police or contact you. Say, look, I'm good and well. Yeah. You know, we can reduce the risk for there. So as long as we know she's all right, I think she's aware of that, you know, phone home concept and you know, how much work the police have put into trying to find her.
But only 13 hours after Jaydee came home, she heads back to the streets.
I'm unsure in how to control her because every time she runs away, she comes back, she's a bit worse.
It's enough to break any parent's heart.
I won't throw her out or anything like that. I'll never do it. I think it's very important that she knows there's always a back door open for her.
As Jaydee disappears again, Tony and Jim have driven even further into the Queensland desert.
This is his car and his trailer.
To the remote spot where Paul Laba abandoned his car on his way to his other campsite.
Up in the hills, up another 20k up the back here, he's got an old campsite. Oh, yeah. And what he told the property owner, he was headed up there to pick up some gear that he left behind originally, some bedding, stuff like that for his own camp where he is now.
But Paul never made it. His car broke down here, 20 kilometres from the nearest road.
Now, his footprints were found along the track here, heading over to the bore, and then that's where they disappear. And then they're picked up again on the other side of the bush, that bit of a hill range where his fence line is.
And that low ridge in the distance is where tomorrow's final search for Paul will begin. Back at Canterbury Hospital, in the case of Khana Guitman, Mandy's calling her daughter Irina.
This will be the call they've been waiting for all day. I hope they're home. Irina, it's Mandy. I have some wonderful news for you. We found your mum. She's fine. She's perfectly well. She's in Canterbury Hospital. The police picked her up today. She was very disorientated wandering around Kingsgrove.
But Irina won't be completely happy until she's spoken with her mum on the phone.
Yeah.
It's a short
Can
conversation, but the relief is immense.
I'm glad it's her. They're happy it's her. There's a few things that need to be cleared up.
While Khana's family is looking forward to tonight's happy reunion, they now have to think about what it means to put a loved one into full-time care.
Yeah, the hardest thing for a lot of families, and I've been through it with my own family, is to make that step to know that they need care that you can't give them. So I really feel for them for that because they're going through a hard time as it is, but to have to look at making decisions to maybe put her somewhere where she can be better cared for. But yeah, look, they're happy, I'm happy, and yeah, I'll stay in touch for sure because they're a lovely family.
In Queensland, Tony's about to brief the SES volunteers who will help search the surrounding desert for Paul Laba.
His car's broken down about 20 k's from the road, and he's actually walked out. We found footprints. Property owner found footprints at the time. We went searching back in February on motorcycles, and we actually found a car radiator hanging in a tree, roughly following the same path of where his car, the footprints, the radiator rode. It's almost a dead straight line.
He was known to walk great distances. He'd walk from his camp, he'd walk in to Middleton to the hotel, 60 kilometres, and have a few drinks and then walk back the next day. So he didn't necessarily have to have a motor vehicle to get around.
We know he's a fairly tough old bugger, so if anyone can survive out there in the bush, Paul can.
Next week, in Outback, Queensland, the hunt continues.
All right, just start moving forward slowly.
Paul Laba is as tough as they come. But is he tough enough to survive a year out here?
We're looking for anything that doesn't fit into the natural habitat surroundings.
And a surprising new twist in the 13-year-long case of Bill Roach.
This is the reference sample that we obtained from the biological mum of the missing person, so if you can compare it to what we've got there.
Blood samples will finally reveal if Bill is dead or alive.
Just calling you about the William Roach case and the mitochondrial DNA testing.
And whatever happened to 13-year-old Lisa Peters.
Just stubborn.
Yeah.
I've got young people. Stubborn, very stubborn.
Someone must know where this young girl is.
Yeah, I just wanted to come home. Where she belongs.